You made it. Welcome back, you BEA, beautiful souls. SolidSol here. In today's video, I want to talk about Oathbreaker. Now, they did adjust Oathbreaker a patch ago, and the thing is, they really didn't address the main issue with it. It was just a band-aid fix, and I want to show you what JC, the lead developer of For Honor, when it comes to balance decisions, says about Oathbreaker, and I want to go ahead and give you my response on it, because the experiences of being hit by this move is just plain not fun, especially from a game design perspective. Even after said nerfs, this has not affected it in any way whatsoever. It is still essentially used the same way. Yes, you can't pop it preemptively, but that doesn't matter because one, there is no counterplay, and two, it takes away the efforts of said player that is actually surviving against all odds, against players, and against insanely strong ganks we have these days. When it comes to the player experience, which is the most important thing you should focus on when making a game, Oathbreaker does not do For Honor justice when it comes to the player experience. So let's just roll the clip and you can see what JC says for himself about this feat.
Oathbreaker is fun breaker, basically a lot of the time, right? And we understand that it's a lot of what we've been saying, right? So the original intent for Oathbreaker was to effectively counter revenge shields, right? That was the main issue and the main design goal for Oathbreaker.
You can see that Nolan and JC are both laughing because they know that the word Funbreaker basically exudes what Oathbreaker is all about. It removes the fun out of the game, okay? They know this to be true. They know this already as the lead developers, okay? But JC knows this for a fact. So the lead developer knows that this specific feat means that the person that is going to get hit by this tier 3 is not going to have fun. What's the point of playing a game when it's not fun? Riddle me that. Like, why would you try to actively take away the fun in a game when you could just promote more fun in it and you could actually make the player experience have more enjoyment? That's the real question, isn't it? Why push away the player base when you can draw them in? I can give you an example. In Tekken 8, grabs used to be homing. What homing meant was that even if you sidestepped, or essentially in this case, in For Honor you dodge, but in Tekken you would sidestep. They're kind of the same thing. So you would sidestep, and you could not get away from that because the grabs would just grab onto you no matter where you dodged. In Tekken 7, this was much different. When you dodged, the grab would miss and you could actually punish. So essentially, basically the entire Tekken 8 community wanted homing grabs to be gone. But why was it there in the first place? It didn't belong in Tekken 7 and it worked perfectly fine. And that made the game a lot more fun because there was more counterplay, and that's what enhances the player experience.
But when we initially designed it, Noel was one of our amazing designers who was working on Black Prayer at the time. We tried it to just remove strip shields, and it didn't feel that good because you're like, oh, you have to time it a lot, and then somebody pops revenge and whatever. So we decided to go. You can pop it a little bit earlier to prevent shields from applying. Turns out long term, it's better if you just strip shields.
Now, in this specific statement, JC does have a point. When they created the character, revenge was a pretty decent thing. It wasn't the most amazing thing, and our ganks weren't as powerful. Back in the day, we didn't have ridiculous characters like Magi, Shinobi, Orochi with the double dodge ganks, and the confirms with the pin that we have these days. A lot of these characters that are coming out have insane ganks that at least take 80% of your HP, and that's ridiculous. And that's why we see that Revenge feels so weak now. Revenge feels incredibly weak because one gank setup and you're basically dead. It doesn't even matter if you survive for 7, 8, 10 more seconds, you're gonna be dead within the next couple of hits. And adding insult to injury, BP's feats had never been changed, and so this was really long overdue, especially since you're low HP and you can pop up preemptively. It doesn't even matter if you're able to auto parry someone, they fall down. The person who's going to hit you afterwards, there's nothing you can do except for stand still and wait for you to die, because you don't even have the ability to have super armor or be uninterruptible against bashes, because as soon as you stand still, you have to dodge the next bash or anything that comes at your face. The amount of outplaying you have to do against your 2 opponents or even 3 is astronomically high, and it is almost impossible to win against decent players.
Before Oathbreaker, the way it works is I see you got your revenge, you haven't popped it yet. I'm gonna do Oathbreaker on you. And you can still pop revenge, right, but you're not gonna get your shields at all. it removes a lot of the decision and a lot of the timing with the feat when you prevent the shield activation from happening.
Actually, there's barely any decision making whatsoever when you have Oathbreaker, especially pre-nerfed Oathbreaker. All you did was press it as soon as you got it, and then you just go ahead and attack. Like, that's literally it. It's literally one of the most brain-dead feats we have in the entire game that removes the fun aspect of For Honor.
So instead, what it does now is I have to wait until you pop Revenge for me to pop it. You can bait Revenge activation. There's a lot of stuff you can do as a player to kind of counter. There's a bit more counterplay to Oathbreaker than it was before. That should make a big difference there.
There is zero counterplay whatsoever, especially when you're at that specific scenario. A 2v1 and you have the ability to pop Revenge. The BP can, quite frankly, press it, okay? Press is tier 3. The other opponent can literally bash you or throw neutral unblockable that might kill you, so you have to make the read or look at the animation and see if that attack is actually going to fly, but most people aren't going to be doing that. You have to pop it or take that hit. If it's a Shinobi, God bless your soul, you have to pop it. If it's a Shinobi after me, I'd rather have a date with the wood chipper, okay? I'd rather have a date with the wood chipper because he gets free damage because his follow-up attack after the kick counts as a bash, so he doesn't actually get knocked down. You have to guard break him, and in guard break mode, you are vulnerable to someone bashing you, because if you guard break someone, you have no way, you can't throw them. The only thing you could possibly do is maybe heavy attack afterwards, but it's so risky to do anything when you get a guard break. And at that point, it doesn't even matter because the BP is going to use his tier 3, you'll be low HP, you'll die in one heavy, so you can't actually even throw that heavy attack. You have to heavy feint, and then boom shakalaka, you're stuck. You have to take the mix with whatever unblockables coming at your face. Shinobi kick, BP bash, BP zone, anything. You're basically dead. I don't know where JC got the idea of how you can counterplay this specific tier 3, but most tier 3s you can counterplay. Long blow, hand axe, you can dodge these preemptively. You can at least do something of the matter. Whereas this feat, my god, you are screwed, dude. There is no way you're surviving that. I think I've only survived maybe one time out of my entire For Honor career when someone pops Oathbreaker on me, and this was the one where you popped it preemptively. I popped it right away, and I auto-parried, and then I dodge rolled away, because they both hit me. And then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna freaking run, because my teammates managed to come save me. That's literally the only time that you're able to possibly counterplay this move. And I say this with quotations because this is actually not counterplay. This is like an insane amount of outplay, like an actually insane godlike amount of counterplay. At the end of the day, the best thing you can do when you're hit with Oathbreaker is to simply do nothing, auto parry, reposition into a safer area. Okay, so just external dodge away from the strongest target, and it's probably going to be the Shinobi, but whichever way you can get to safety, that's what you do. And you dodge the incoming bash, you dodge the follow-up blood attacks, you are perceived as non-threatening, so they will absolutely annihilate you. So you have to just play super safe. That's the counterplay, essentially. Now, if JC means the counterplay of never ever getting into that situation in the first place and always fighting with your team in a 2v2 setting, then sure, I understand that point where there is counterplay on having your teammates peel for you and whatnot, but most of the time, I'd say 99% of the time, Oathbreaker is used in a 2v1 setting, and your teammates are not going to come help you. I would say 90% of the time, your teammates are not going to come help you, and you will have to deal with that yourself. And in that moment, there is zero counterplay whatsoever, besides absolutely praying to RNG Jesus that those two buckaroos that you're fighting are absolutely dog shit at the game. So JC, I can tell you right now that you don't play this game, or at least nearly enough as I do. And I'm not even saying that people who play the game the most should dictate how the game should be balanced, but I'm saying that people who actually do experience these things, such as Oathbreaker, it's just not fun, and it needs to be deleted from the game. It just needs to be deleted, or it needs to be reworked entirely, and this simple band-aid fix is just not how you go about it. It's just the wrong way to do it, because you had time to either just get rid of this feat all entirely, because 99% of the players do not enjoy this feat existing. This feat is a huge problem. The best thing they could have done that would have pleased every single For Honor player that actually plays the game, okay, that actually plays matchmaking, not just scrims where you don't have to deal with double pick and all of the nuance and annoyance of the game. If you actually played the game, if you just removed Oathbreaker, 99% of the players would have been happy and would have praised your efforts. We praised your efforts in general for working on feats, okay? But I mean, if you're working on Oathbreaker, you should know that this is not a healthy feat. You wouldn't know this if you didn't play the game, though, and I can understand where you're coming from if you didn't play the game, but I do play the game. Most of the players in the community do play the game, and they want it removed or reworked entirely, and in that instance, you could just take it out of the game for now, for a couple months, and then rework it with an entirely new setup that even synergizes with BP's entire kit, you know?
We're gonna look into, do we keep it this way? Do we put back the condition? But we wanted to change Oathbreaker at this moment specifically because it's been overperforming. A lot of complaints about it. I completely understand.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like we're addressing it and going in that way. We're gonna keep an eye on it as well and see if we need to do like more to it as we go along.
So as you can see here, they decided to do a band-aid fix, which is not address the issue at all. They know it's a problem. I mean, everyone complains about it, and it's the right thing to do. You should be complaining about this because this is an anti-game, anti-consumer, anti-fun feat, and we should not be having that, especially with a game that specifically revolves around having fun, okay? Having fun is the main priority of a game. You can go competitive afterwards, but I think the main important thing is to draw players in so that there's an actual community that wants to watch competitive players play at the highest level, okay? So once you remove Oathbreaker, that'd be great. So Ubisoft, you need to do that. They're looking for other options, other reworks still, but this is the wrong play. I've said it time and time again. You should be getting things right the first time. And this is a very harsh thing to say, but they've had at least 8 years to look at the entire past of For Honor reworks, adjustments, feats, how the community responds to it, how the game is actually thriving, if it is healthy or not. So removing something that the community objectively hates and is unfun, it should be a no-brainer, but for Ubisoft, for some reason, they don't want to do it. And I don't understand why. I get that this is a good move to use, or a good tier to use in comp level play. For like, if you're using a BP and you accidentally fed revenge, or you want to get rid of someone really, really quickly, this is good. I understand it. But when there's 2 BPs, it's just not that fun, man. It's just not that fun. If single pick's a thing, maybe this wouldn't be that big of an issue, in my opinion. Like Oathbreaker, if it's just one of them, not that big of a deal, but it's still annoying and goes against the philosophy of having fun in the game. If I'm having fun, the other player needs to have fun too. And I don't think it's that hard to make this philosophy come true, in my opinion. So that's my response to JC saying that there's counterplay to Oathbreaker, and in reality there is not, except not even booting up For Honor in the first place. That's basically how you counterplay Oathbreaker in For Honor. The other counterplay, of course, is to actually start reworks for it. So I have some ideas here. You guys let me know what you guys think of these rework ideas. I've been thinking about this for a while. I did say before that there's some easy fixes to it, and there's some more fixes that they'd have to actually write in some code and deal with more nonsense of it. But the first thing, obviously, is to only have it strip half of the shields. If you have stripped half the shields, it's still 50%. You still get like a couple of heavies to survive afterwards. And as a tier 3, definitely not the best pick, but I mean, in conjunction with the rest of BP's feats, he's gonna have Tough as Nails. A lot of people already run Tough as Nails. Firearm runs this. It's less toxic, and you act like as a freaking tank. Punch through can be okay, but I mean, it's just not that viable for BP because he doesn't even have enhanced lights, which is way more helpful for characters like Warlord and a War Mommy. And so you're kind of left with Oathbreaker or Tough as Nails. And I think having a tier 2, especially if you get up renown really quickly, you can use Oathbreaker every 2 fights. It's a cooldown of 120 seconds only. If you want to decrease to like 90 seconds or something like that, I'd be totally okay with that too. Maybe 100 seconds. But I think this would be the way to go. Or you'd have to do some other tricky nitpick stuff. So if you want to remove all the shields, you have to have it go down as it have to like bleed away, right? It have to bleed away in maybe like 4 seconds. It would take away all the shields. I think that would be kind of interesting too. I feel like just taking away half shields is a little bit better because at least you have 50 shields. But when you take away a little bit of the shields at a time for like 4 seconds, it might actually be worse of a feat, in my opinion. But that's just it's just a thought process that I had. So let me know what you guys think of that. The other one that I thought of is that either put it as a tier 4, leave Oathbreaker as is, but put it as a tier 4 because it's so powerful as a tier 4. You can remove shields. It could help counter Phalanx, but the thing is that Phalanx will give shields to everybody, literally on their entire team, and so maybe this could have like an AoE effect. Oathbreaker could have an AoE effect as a tier 4 though, because then you could use it to counter Phalanx, and it's the same kind of situation with Stalwart Banner counters Fire Flash, so as soon as someone pops Fire Flash, you can use Stalwart Banner to heal your entire teammates and counteract all the fire, and it's basically useless. The other one that I thought of is that maybe Oathbreaker could possibly steal shields. Now, stealing shields as a tier 3 doesn't sound too bad of an idea, but it would have to be in a certain limit, like maybe only steal half the shields or something like that and keep the other shields to the other player, because this will still affect revenge. Like, you still need revenge to be actually good, because you can't take away the ability to outperform the 2 gankies, okay? If you gank someone, you fuck up, and you give them shields or give them revenge, you have to accept that mistake, okay? So that's really important. That's why babysitting is kind of a thing, because you don't want to feed revenge, and nobody wants to learn all the freaking 100 to 0 ganks. And so stealing shields would have a certain role. This is a little bit of a controversial because you'd have to steal shields, only steal half shield as a tier 3. Wouldn't be too bad, but I think this would be a lot cooler in my opinion. It'd be pretty sick for BP to steal shields and have shields onto him for like another 5 seconds or something. That'd be kind of cool, or maybe 10 seconds or 8 seconds. The other idea that I had would possibly be, this is a little bit controversial too, is that every time you flip someone, you get shields for 4 seconds, okay? Every time you flip someone, you get shields for 4 seconds. This is kind of like Jormungandr's tier 2, where you get shields every time he lands a pin, so that's kind of interesting as well. And both of these are skill factors too, mind you. These all require skills, except for Jormungandr's, of course, because Jormungandr's revolves around a 50-50, whereas Blackprior revolves around a defensive read. So Blackprior can get a lot of flips in a game, and when you get that tier 3, my god, he's gonna be freaking ridiculous. It might be broken as fuck, but that's just something that I would love to see happen. Maybe it could actually work with him, but it wouldn't give him, maybe not give him like too much shields, only give him like maybe 30 shields or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. 30 shields for like 3 seconds or 4 seconds, something like that, to give him a little bit more personality and flair, because those shields with Jormungandr on his tier 2 can help him anti-gank for such a long period of time, man. Jormungandr is a strong character because of that specific tier 2 feat. It's incredibly good in my opinion. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think of Oathbreaker and what you think of JC's comment. Like, is JC high on crack, or is he correct in the counterplay aspect, or correct in how to actually balance Oathbreaker? Is Oathbreaker fun right now? I would say, you know, that's your opinion. That's my opinion, that I think it should be removed from the game. But what do you guys think? Let me know. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. See you later.